What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to the Versus series. This is the series where I take two elements from a game that are similar, and I put them up side by side to see which one is better. In today's episode, I thought it'd be fitting since we have a contract available right now for the Type 2 Nambu, I decided I'd throw it in one of these episodes and compare it to the Type 100. So first up, let's have a look at their damage profiles. As you can see here, they have pretty much identical damage profiles. The Type 100 deals one less damage per shot at longer ranges, which realistically has no effect whatsoever on the performance of the gun. So this means with both of them, they're going to be a 4, 5, or 6 shot kill. As for a rate of fire, this is where the Type 2 Nambu really stands out against the Type 100. It does have a noticeably higher rate of fire at 681 rounds per minute versus the Type 100 652 rounds per minute. And this means when we look at the statistical minimum time to kill, we are going to have a faster time to kill across the board with the Type 2 Nambu. Now normally when you have two really similar guns, but one has a slightly faster fire rate, the other gun will likely have slightly better range or something along those lines. So let's hop into the ranges here, and as you can see, the Type 2 Nambu has identical range properties to the Type 100 in this game. They both have a 15 meter 4-shot kill range, and then just over a 25 meter 5-shot kill range. Beyond that, it's going to be 6 shots to kill, and I should also point out that with both of these SMGs, advanced rifling isn't doing anything to your 4-shot kill potential. So far, it's pretty clear that the Type 2 Nambu is superior to the Type 100, but we haven't looked at all the stats yet. Let's get into our handling stats. First up, we have aim down sight time, and as you can see here, the Type 100 finally beats out the Type 2 Nambu somewhere. It has a 160 millisecond aim down sight time, whereas the Type 2 Nambu has a 180 millisecond aim down sight time. Now this is a very minor difference, we're talking one frame in game, but sometimes that one frame does make the difference between life and death. As for our sprint out times, it's the same story. We've got a 160 millisecond sprint out time for the Type 100 and a 180 millisecond sprint out time for the Type 2 Nambu. So the Type 100 does have slightly better handling than the Nambu. As for our hipfire, once again, the Type 100 does come out on top in this area. It does have very noticeably better hipfire than the Type 2 Nambu. That is the one big downside to using the Nambu. As for our magazine capacity, they're both equal in this area. They both have 30 rounds standard magazines with 90 in reserve, and with extended mags you can bump that up to 45 with 135 in reserve. Our reload add time, on the other hand, is noticeably faster with the Type 100 at 1.29 seconds, whereas the Type 2 is 1.57 seconds. It might not seem like too much, but it is noticeable when you're in a game. So now we've covered most of the important stats between these two weapons, but there's still one more very important stat to cover, and this is our recoil, or our accuracy with these guns. Both of these guns are quite accurate for the SMG category. They primarily kick upwards, but they've got a little bit of a zigzag pattern on their way upwards. When we put the recoil plots up side by side, you can see that the Type 100 doesn't kick vertically quite as much, but it does tend to have a bit more of that side-to-side sway. It does have a bit more of a zigzag to it. Having said that, the Type 2 Nambu doesn't have perfectly straight up recoil either. It still does have a bit of a zigzag, and I would say between these two guns, it's very difficult to decide which one is better in the recoil department. They're both very controllable, they're both very accurate for the SMG category, and I'm going to have to say that this area is probably going to be slightly subjective. Personally, I slightly prefer the Type 100 in this area, but having said that, I generally don't have too many issues controlling the recoil with the Type 2 Nambu. So overall, when you put these two weapons side by side, they are very, very comparable. It's actually pretty clear that the Type 2 Nambu was very likely based off of the Type 100 when the developers were adding it into the game. They likely just copied and pasted the stats and then changed a bunch of values, which is a very common practice with newer weapons that are added to the game. Now the upsides to the Nambu is it does have a slightly faster time to kill than the Type 100. However, this comes at the trade-off of slightly worse handling. Like I said, our ranges are identical between these two, and recoil is pretty much subjective here. It really depends on what kind of feel you like for that recoil. So overall, out of all the episodes I've done of Versus so far, this is probably the closest one I've run into. Personally, I slightly lean towards the Type 100. However, I will also mention that I do use the Type 100 with rapid fire all the time. I won't use it without rapid fire, so that changes things a little bit. But even with rapid fire on both of the guns, I do slightly lean towards the Type 100. Having said that, I would say the Type 2 Nambu is an excellent SMG, and if you guys are even slightly interested in it and you don't have it yet, I would definitely recommend picking up that contract from the Quartermaster. And with that, we're going to wrap up today's video. I'd like to know in the comment section below, out of these two guns, the Type 100 and the Type 2 Nambu, which one do you prefer and why? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.